Why did ACHES have to retire before I found out about competitive COD? Question mark.
Because the games they started making were absolute doo-doo in comparison to the games that I grew up loving and wanting to play.
Pat was a very fun competitor to play against. You always wanted to beat him.
Also,
you always did.
Also, people don't realize this as well. Like, especially like someone who like he just said, he just got into competitive, like let's say 2020. Like when they were just coming into it a few years ago, and when you think back, like I played competitive Call of Duty from 2008 nonstop to 2020, like 12 full years, and Chris did as well. And it's like that was 12 years of coming home after school at the time, scrimming 6-7 hours a day, nonstop for 12 years. And it's like, I think there's a lot that goes kind of amiss in Call of Duty history when we talk about like how long some people have been around. Cause it's like when you add that up, like 12 years of 8 hours a day, cause that's what we were playing too. Back then, like it wasn't like routine set schedules. Like Chris, I mean, you can kind of speak this too. Like there was like a pride aspect where you just wanted to get on and get better and you wanted to grind every single day. And like, there was no money. Like, I mean, there obviously was money, but it was like, there wasn't like the money that there are nowadays. And it's just like, it sucks because like a lot of that gets written off because a lot of those personalities and people who were also a part of that, like 2008 to 2020 run, were doing the same thing. And it's like, there were so many hours invested and time invested. And it's like, yeah, it seems like I wasn't a part of, you know, some people's story who just recently got it, but like there was decades, years
That's an
and
actual
decades.
decade, bro. Like
Yeah, like there was a lot of time where like we were here doing this thing.
2010 to 2020, bro. The decade of Call of Duty.
I will say though, from like that perspective, I think there is that level, but someone like Kevin, for example, you guys are both obviously big parts of their watching and consumption experience around Call of Duty today. Like when as a casual watcher, like when I was growing up watching, there was no the flank, reverse sweep, all these extra things. So like you didn't get this inside look at people's personalities as much. Yeah. And so like
it's just technology, right?
On some fronts, like like you obviously, Pat, you're not a huge part of the playing side of maybe some of these people's like lifespan of watching COD if they just started watching in the last couple of years, but arguably you guys are even more in front of the camera and even more a part of the Call of Duty scene than it ever was.
Just watching like us on content stuff like that. But dude, there was a point in time where Pat was compared to people, or it could have been compared to people like fucking Cellium and Dashy and all those guys in terms of like how like accoladed they were and how skilled they were at the current like ceiling of the game. Same with myself. So it's
this is
crazy,
what I hate.
man.
I this is the one thing I do hate about the CDL, and I've talked about this before, is like the pre-CDL is not recognized by the CDL, right? Like, and I think there is so much that went on for like over a decade of time of like not only players' personalities, but like, you know, storylines of teams, players, and like how good some people were, right? Like, I see it all the time. Like people bring up my my LAG Modern Warfare stats, and I played like 3 series on that team, and I think I averaged like a 0.7. It was over 3 series, and it's like that is indicative of anything in my
career.
You're
dropping 1.3s, like literally.
Yeah, like I went to champs and I had a 1.35 KD, and it's like it's just,
champs in BO2, Pat, I had a damn near 2.0. Like I had a 1.8, 1.9s, like on every hardpoint map besides one map, like in terms of like playing the maps at the event.
Yeah,
like,
but there's so much recency bias. They just like cherry pick one random thing, and it's like, and that's why I was making the comparison of like the CDL versus the pre-CDL, because like I just did the math. When you add up 8 hours a day for 365 days, which honestly it might be more than that. Like Chris, you probably played more than 8 hours a day on some of those days. That's 35,000 hours. Like, put that in perspective of like that's how much COD was played pre-CDL. Like literally 35,000 hours. And there's only a few of us that were on that, like that full stretch. Like Chris, obviously, JCap, Damon got in there eventually. Crim and Clay took some breaks, but like, yeah, it was a lot of time that was put in pre-CDL for some of these guys that are still around today, that have been around since the beginning. So yeah, it always puts into perspective when people mention that. Like I always completely forget. Like, yeah, 2020 introduced a lot of new fans to Call of Duty,
Yeah.
and they have no idea, right? Like Kevin, for example. Like, yes, just there's just and what really sucks is like 2008 through like 20, like right before 2013 was all scrubbed from the internet. Like you can't. It's so hard to find matches because it was all on MLGpro.com.
Mhm.
Like that's where they upload all the VOD of all like the online matches, the events, all that kind of stuff. And I actually talked to Adam Apicella told me not too long ago that it's all in like an MLG warehouse somewhere, like one of those old MLG warehouses of like just hard drives, like hundreds of hard drives of all the Halo footage, the old COD stuff. And yeah, it just got taken down off when MLGpro.com went offline. So there's a lot of history out there that's not online to find, and that's just super unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, man, it's crazy because I think that, like you said, a lot of people don't realize that there are actually new people coming in and watching Call of Duty. I think that's one thing as a Call of Duty community is the people who've been watching it for a long time or a part of it for a long time. Like, we all want Call of Duty to grow, but we don't actually think about like the fact that there are people picking it up like this year and last year, and there are new faces who literally don't know who anyone is. And it's just cool. I think after in time people will kind of learn about the history, and maybe someone hires an editor and team to go through all that MLG footage and turn it into like some big highlight reel. That would be crazy.
That'd be sick. Like a pre CDL just compilation. That's a Netflix documentary.
Yeah, literally.